Well, hello everyone. This is Sevilla. I'm a grief and loss specialist. I'm a coach, consultant, spiritual guide with over 23 years of experience. This is my opinion and peer support channel, and I'm here to support the widowed and those who love them. Learn how to get back and get into living and loving life again after a major life altering loss. I've had a massive amount of loss myself by an early age. I'm also a widow. So tonight, this video is about you having just been widowed. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how to handle this bomb that just completely exploded your life. You've never been widowed before. You're not supposed to know what to do. Okay, so you have had a loss. Now, all of you have had a different type of loss, meaning how it's come to you. Some of you have had a long-term loss where you knew it was coming and you had some time to prepare. Others had a very short notice, just days possibly, where you didn't expect it. And then they were here 1 minute and a couple of days later, they were gone. You had very little time to prepare. Okay, you may have had an unexpected death, a sudden death, which you've had no time to prepare. So it may have been an accident, a crime, suicide. The person's body could have just out of nowhere failed them. Or there could have been the less common death by animal. So what this feels like for people is that no matter whether it's been a long-term loss that you expected or whether it just happened, regardless, they're here 1 minute and they're gone the next. And your life is irrevocably changed from this moment on. You may be experiencing a lot of different emotions, and what that might feel like for you, I'm going to talk about what it feels like first, is that you might be in shock. You might be experiencing numbness where you just don't really feel anything at all. You're just going through the motions. You're doing what needs to be done. You may be having a total emotional breakdown. You may feel completely out of control emotionally right now. And maybe you're somebody who usually has it together. And so this is a very foreign experience for you. You might be experiencing a sense of panic. You may have a stoic resolve. Okay. So you might say, okay, this is just something that happens to even good people. Why not me? And then you go about doing what needs to be done. You may be in a state of great confusion. You may be very overwhelmed. You could be experiencing a massive amount of guilt or regret, depending on the nature of the loss. Be experiencing a great amount of anger. Okay. Being in a state of disbelief that you just can't believe this happened, regardless of the evidence in front of you. So what you need to know about that sense of disbelief is that it takes time for your body to catch up with the reality, okay? For your mind to be able to catch up with it. Okay, the next emotion we really need to address is something that many people do experience but don't talk about, and it's the emotion of relief. If you've had a loved one who has been sick and suffering for a long time, if you've had somebody that had injuries that were so severe you know they couldn't come back from and ever live a normal life again. If you had a spouse where the marriage was extremely difficult, maybe they had a serious drug addiction, maybe they had a serious mental illness, maybe there was suffering for them, deep and prolonged and serious, and the suffering that others around them experienced was also present. Just know that feeling relief is normal. And if it's something that you really struggle with and experience a lot of guilt over, and that after a period of time you aren't able to let go, seeking out the help of a qualified mental health professional can assist you with this. And it's very important that you do, and also allow yourself to talk to other people about it. This is where meeting with other widows can be helpful because they can share with you, hey, I felt that too, and you're not alone. So, what does this look like for you in the days to come? It really depends on your circumstances. and the levels of support that you have around you, because that's different for so many people. Some people are completely and utterly alone. It's just them and their spouse. There's nobody else. There's no kids. There's no substantial friends or family that they can depend on. And then other people have massive community of love and support. So I'm going to try to speak generally to all of you and find what's useful for you. Okay, so for family and friends that are, you know, close to you, okay, make sure that you're pulling them in to be able to help with whatever is going on, because people are going to want to help. They're going to want something to do. So if there's something you can give them to do, that's great. But you might be completely besides yourself and have no idea what even needs to be done because you've just lost your damn mind. I get it. Okay. So those family and friends are going to want to be immediately responding to the situation. So allow them in where it's appropriate. Now, this is something you need to consider. If you've got family conflict going into this situation, or if it exists with the sudden loss, this could get worse before it gets better. And I don't want to say that to stress you out, but you need to be prepared. And that's what I'm here to help you do, to know what to expect. So if there is family conflict leading up to this, know that a death often brings a magnifying glass to people's personality types. Now, if they're loving and kind and giving and generous and super supportive, then there'll be a magnifying glass to that. But if there's conflict and difficulty and strife in the relationship, there may be a magnifying glass to that too. So don't allow the fear to overwhelm you. You need to stay fully present and fully in this moment to the best of your ability. And just, you have to take this one thing at a time rather than allow your mind to get completely overwhelmed with all the fear and details of what everybody else is going to do. Because right now you need to tend to yourself and prepare yourself for the potentials that may be coming. And I want to tell you, no matter how hard this is, you will be able to do this a little bit at a time, okay? A little bit at a time. The potential challenges that you might be facing is that you've got to first know what you can control for and what you can't. What you can control for is always yourself, how you respond to a situation. So if somebody else is showing up negatively or being difficult in some way, just know that you can't control how they're going to grieve, how they're going to respond, how they're going to act, but you can control how you respond to them, and know that you don't have to do it for them. Know that you're doing it for yourself. Okay. I hope and wish for all of you that you have the love and support you need, but I know that this isn't true and it needs to be spoken to. So what do you do about announcing the death? So when you've told the close friends and family, do you want to post it on social media? How do you want to announce it? Now, hopefully that's going to be, you as the widow will have that right to be able to make the announcement. However, in the age of social media, a lot of people will get bad news and they don't know that they got it first or last. And so they start posting about it on the internet. So for those people who are very close to you, tell them that if this is your desire, I would like to be in control of when this gets announced. So please don't post on social media. Be very clear about that. That being said, you've also got to realize this may not be within your control. Someone may get the information and start posting on social media. What I want you to hear right now is this is something you have to be prepared to allow yourself to let go. You've got so many things right now that are going to be massively overwhelming and so painful. You've got just enough energy sometimes in the days to come to get your butt out of bed if you can. So putting energy into people who are not being conscious about what this might be like for you as the widow, or they might be wrapped up in their own grief, or just oblivious to what might be proper decorum or respectful behavior, you've got to be able to let that go. Okay. Just choose, if you can, to let it go, because there's other things that truly need your attention. So also know that in that same limelight, people might try to make it all about them, because when there's a death, there's a bit of a drama to it. And so people may want to steal the drama for themselves and get the attention for themselves. that happens, and that can be very painful for the widow. I've been to funerals before where the ex-girlfriend from 5 years ago stands up and gives a big long speech about their relationship and their past and their history. Now, it wasn't somebody that was like, their their affair partner or anything, but just like an old girlfriend, totally stealing the show at the funeral. Stuff like this can happen. Okay, so this other things that you have to prepare yourself for and allow yourself to release control of it. Put your energy where it's needed most, which is on yourself and not on other people. Believe me, people will see through stuff like that and see it for what it's worth. So let it go, let it go, let it go. So also, another thing to let go is that people are going to say really stupid things to you. They're going to mean well. A lot of them will mean well. They want to comfort you, but at least they're in a better place. At least they're not hurting anymore. Um, you know, don't worry, it could be worse. Isn't it good that you have a life insurance policy? Well, at least you got a roof over your head. You're still young. You can remarry. Okay, so these kinds of things are going to hurt like hell, and you're going to want to slap them in the head. But again, these are things that you can allow yourself to let go and see the heart message and whatever they are saying. This is a choice. This is a coping tool. I'm not saying it's okay for them to do it, but a way to deal with it is to see the heart message and what they say, thank them for their concern, and then excuse yourself from the situation, and then go complain to a close friend about what they just said. Let that one go too, if you can. So now, if you've had a young child, just know that they just lost half their world, because when a parent dies, half the world of that child is now gone because their world is so small and it revolves around the parents. So you need to get support and get educated on child grief and how to deal with that. And I have you also might be caring for other people right now, an elderly family member, that may be grieving the loss of their adult child. Losing a child, whether they're little or adults, is always extraordinarily painful for the parents. And so you might be caring for them as well, trying to take care of yourself, and you're in the middle of everyone. And now you're seen as the last surviving representation of your spouse that just passed. And so the burden of responsibility is going to feel very, very heavy on your shoulders right now. And what I want you to hear is that you not only will be able to handle this, but how you do that is dosing it and taking it one little tiny piece at a time. And it might be that you just do one thing at a time every day or every other day, or that you're pulling in people to arrange support for you, allow other people to brainstorm with you, figure out what can be done. It's not just bringing, food, and which is great. Actually, let them bring food, because you're not going to want to cook. I'll tell you that. You are not going to want to cook. Probably. Maybe it brings you some comfort, but in the first few days, you may not feel like doing anything. So also know that you might not always get the help that you need, because maybe you don't have the resources around you. Maybe you don't have the support system of people that are present for you. I remember when I was first widowed, I really needed a break. I had a little 3.5-year-old boy, and I needed a break so I could go scream and cry and lose my damn mind. And I couldn't, because although I could share my grief with my son in terms of holding him, and we would cry together, or we'd have a moment, but I couldn't just freak out and completely lose control in front of him. So I needed a break, and I couldn't find anyone to, watch him for a while, especially when I needed it. It might be like, oh yeah, I could watch him in a couple of days, but right now I'm losing my mind. I didn't have anybody. So I had to really keep it under control so I could continue to parent. So know that these kinds of things can come up for you, and that even though it's going to be excruciating, you can do this. Okay, you can do this. You're going to find strength within you that you didn't know existed, even though it's not where you want to be, even though this is the hardest and most painful thing you've ever been through. So in time, you're going to need to also connect with other widows and widowers, because you're going to need that kind of support. We're going to talk a little bit more about why that's true. So in addition to asking for help and accepting help, know what you need. If you don't know what you need, let other people help to identify it. Okay. And if they say, hey, call me up anytime, what they've got to know is a lot of times you're not going to want to reach out and say, oh, I need this help, I need that. Even though I'm going to tell you, go ask for help, a lot of you aren't going to do it. So it's also okay to tell your friends and family, I don't know what I need, but if you think of something that you want to do or you think will be useful, just go ahead and do it. Just don't even ask me, just do it. If you trust their judgment. Okay. Allow them to bring that in. No, you're going to have widow's brain, which means you're not going to be thinking very clearly. You're not going to read things well. You're not going to remember well. You're not going to know if you called Joe Schmo or if you did the announcement or what the heck's going on. Maybe you're normally a very organized person and everything is all over the place, even though you may have made a plan for all of these things. Here you are, lost, dazed, and confused. Hear me. This is normal. Okay. This is normal. It's not going to last forever, that widow's brain, but it will be with you for some time. So be patient with yourself. Okay. So what do people need to do for you? If somebody's there and you don't know what they can do, like, what can I do? The dishes? Can I do this? Just have them sit with you. Here's what you need to know about grief. Grief needs to be witnessed. It needs to be shared, witnessed and shared. So having someone just in the room with you to sit, sleep in the guest bedroom so you're not alone in the house, those kinds of things can be incredibly helpful. The day I lost my husband, I had a friend. She was just there. She didn't say much. She was there. She slept over in the guest bedroom. And it was incredibly comforting to know that I wasn't alone in the house that night. So know that that's okay. And that's something friends and family can do. Just say, hey, could you just sleep over? I don't really need anything, but just be here. And I don't even feel like talking, but we'll just watch TV and let them take care of you. So what if you're so deeply, deeply, deeply pained that you start having thoughts of death and dying yourself, that you miss them so badly? You just want to be with them. All you want to do is be with them. You just want to be with them. And that's all you can think about. And then maybe you ask yourself, am I suicidal? This is what I want you to hear. Having those types of thoughts when you've been widowed is normal. Okay? It's normal. It comes up for most of us to have that depth of longing to be with them. Maybe having moments of where if I just didn't wake up tomorrow, I'd be okay, because then maybe I get to be with them. Now, that's not dangerous, but you do need to talk about it with other people. You need to reach out and say, gosh, I'm having thoughts like this. And I feel like I want to share it. Okay. With somebody that you trust. You don't need to tell your kids that, but maybe your kids feel like that too. And so you want to make sure you're checking in with them and asking them how this feels for them. What you want to look out for is making any kind of plans. You have a plan. If you're starting to think about how many pills you can take or, whatever method you can use, then you're getting into a dangerous zone. And you definitely need to be reaching out to talk to somebody else. And that number of the suicide hotline is 988. 988. Okay. So here's the biggest question everybody has. And this is the last one. Is this ever going to get any better? And will it hurt like this ever? This question is twofold. The answer is yes and no. Let me give you this analogy. When you first lose your spouse, you feel like a piece of you has just been ripped off. Your life has crumbled. Your sense of self is gone because you had an identity that was closely wrapped with this person that was your ride or die, the one that you were going to be with forever. All of your plans and hopes for the future, whatever kind of future you had, if you lost your spouse when you're 80 or whether you lost him when you were 25, you had plans for what was coming for you or hopes. You didn't want it to end however it was that it ended. And here you're standing in a massive amount of pain. This is what you need to know. Grief is like a ball in a basket. Okay, here's the ball and here's the basket. And it takes up all the space in that basket. Now, as time goes by, as you reach out, as you get support, as you allow your grief to be witnessed and shared, and you connect with other people and you tell your story and you speak of your loved one, you start to slowly reimagine yourself. Maybe you're getting therapy, maybe you're participating in groups. What happens is you start to grow a little bit around that ball. Okay, now the ball has a little bit more room, doesn't it? A little bit more room. And then more time goes by and a little more healing comes. And now you've got a little bit more space and more space and more space. Now, all of a sudden, there's this ball and it's bouncing around the room because it's got a lot of space, right? It's got a lot of space. But here's what the thing is. The ball is still the same dang size. So one day, you come home and that ball comes bouncing down the stairs. It hits you in the head. It hits you in the head. It's the same size it was in the beginning. Okay. I'm 12 years out from my loss. I know many people are 20 years out, a year out, 4 years out. How long is this going to take for you to stop grieving? Our grief is very closely associated with our love. And that doesn't mean that you have to hurt in order to prove that you loved the person. It doesn't mean you can't move on with your life in order to prove that you loved the person. It doesn't mean that you can't have any joy in order to prove that you loved the person. Because here's what else I want you to hear. You spent every day up until the minute of their death loving them, being there for them, however imperfectly you may have done that. You did the best you could with what you had in the time that you were given what you knew how to do. You gave it all the last moment. And now it's time for you to be able to attend to what's going to happen next in your life. Your job at this moment is to just do what is here and what is now. And that means attending to this ball that's taken up all the space and learning how to grow around the loss. That's your job. Not get rid of the grief, because you're not gonna. You're not gonna get rid of it because it's too closely associated with your love. But you can grow around it. That's your job to do. And your job is to keep living because you're still here. And you're still here for a reason. You still have purpose. Your life still has meaning even if you can't see it right now. It's all right. It's all right. Just hang on to this moment. Do the next piece of paperwork. Talk to the next person. Make the next arrangement. Cry with your kids. Cry with your friends. Cry by yourself in the shower. Get an ice pack because you can look like a friggin' frog. And know that you are strong. That you were created to bear and endure. And here's one more message for you. Maybe we don't really die. Just your body. That which you knew and loved about the person. Maybe that continues to exist. And if that's true, and you're still here for a purpose, and you're still here for a reason, maybe given as you grow around this loss, you find that reason and that purpose. That's what this channel is about. Getting into being able to live and love life again after this kind of a major life-altering loss. And that maybe you'll find a way to stay connected in a way that's meaningful for you. And that it's okay to grieve the loss of their physical presence in your life, even though they may still exist somewhere else. Because that's part of the process. That's part of your job before you get to the other place of finding meaning and spiritual connection. You got to grieve this part right here. You got to scream and cry and be mad at God and be mad at the doctors and be mad at yourself, and then find a way to let that go. And then to relive it again and find a way to let it go. And to know that this process is going to be like a wave. You're going to have down times and you're going to think, I'm just going backwards. This is as bad as it ever was. You're not going backwards. When you feel like that, remember these words. You are not going backwards. You're just having a wave and you're on a crest. And it's going to come down. And then there'll be another one. But this is what's going to happen. The waves, as time goes by, are going to get smaller and smaller. They're going to get less and less as the stormy seas calm. You're capable. And strength doesn't look like not having tears and not having sadness. You can't have joy without this sadness. And this is the price we pay for love. So embrace this time, not because you want it, but because this is where you are. And this is what needs to be done right now. Wrap yourself in a warm blanket. Take care of yourself. Hug your loved ones. Don't be alone. And come back to this channel for more help in the future, because I'll be here for you.